Guys, welcome back to the Full Force Fathers podcast, episode number 73. Dave, for some reason, it's just 73 sounds bigger. I mean, we're at 72, but 73 sounds bigger to me. I don't know why.
It does sound bigger. We're almost there, man. We're almost 3/4 of the way to the century mark. It's amazing.
Nuts.
We're running out of numbers too, which scares me a little bit because it's one of my favorite parts of the show.
Yeah, dude, maybe we're going to have to come up with some original content or something after that.
I also love that we're saving your favorite player of all time for the last episode of Numbers. I just can't believe it. It's amazing.
The greatest singular athlete of all time in any most dominant, I should say, at their sport ever.
Did you let everybody?
From a statistical standpoint, not from a championship standpoint, but from a statistical standpoint,
True. I'm not on social media anymore, so I wasn't sure. Did you let everybody know on social media that you're now the president of his fan club, or not yet?
No, I'm still waiting. I sent my job application into him, just waiting to hear back. I don't want to make anything official until it's official. You know what I mean? Okay. I just want a letter. I just want a letter signed from the great one. You know what I mean? Like that. Maybe it's the best nickname of all time. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to call it. The GOAT, whatever. Yeah. But when your nickname is the great one. You know what I mean? It's just, that's it, man.
Yeah. It's true.
But anyways, yeah, so 73, man, this is a cool episode because it's, nothing life-changing per se in this episode, other than our kids are back in school, man, and it is just so weird, dude.
I know. First full week back for both of us with our kids, but I think it's probably even stranger for you because you now have all three of your girls out of the house.
Yeah.
What is that like?
I'm going to expand on it shortly once we get into the meat of the episode. But there's a cliffhanger. You got to listen to the numbers first in the Bible verse before we get into the crux of back to school talk, right? I'm going to start with the Bible verse real quick, and then we'll jump into numbers.
Okay.
Or do you want to go numbers first?
Let's do numbers first.
All right, let's do numbers first. You kick it off. This is you own this list.
I'm going to kick it off with the greatest number 73 of all time, and he happens to have played for the Dallas Cowboys for a good part of his career, Larry Allen. Do you remember Larry Allen?
Yes, and I don't think it's...
How could you forget him? How could you forget him?
I don't think it's even close. He's the best ever at that number.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. 14 seasons, 11 Pro Bowls. He's part of 2 all-decade teams. How's that? The 90s and the 2000s.
No, say no more.
It's phenomenal. He played every position on the offensive line except for center, which is understandable.
Yeah.
And he played JUCO in D2 before getting drafted in the second round. He didn't even play at a major college university. I just think that's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I think that's what makes football so intriguing to a lot of people because number one, if you look at all the main sports, big picture, right? It has more roster spots, right? So you're playing 11-11. There's 22 guys on the field. But dude, the roster's like 53-man roster. So, like, if you're blessed with, maybe not the smartest brains or went to the biggest school, but if you're, God gave you some genetics, like, you have a really good chance if you put forth the effort into becoming a professional football player. It's a lot harder to say that when it comes to baseball because you're hitting that little ball, or basketball because there's only 5 guys on the floor at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're 6'4", 300 pounds, dude, go become an NFL lineman, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Dude, there's not a lot of 6'4", 300-pound guys around.
No, there's not. And fast as a cat. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
People are like, those guys are so fast. Mm-hmm. And to think, you could go from playing the right side of the offensive line to the left side of the offensive line, man. He covered Troy Aikman's blind side for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing that, these guys can just, pick up and go from place to place to place on the offensive line. Yeah. Like, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's true. It's insane. And they're all big boys. They get to eat. Training camp sucks for them because they all shred a bunch of weight and they're getting killed because they're so much heavier than everybody else. But, man, once football season starts, dude, you see all the stories about quarterbacks giving their offensive line new cars or new Rolexes or vacations or some shit. Yeah. Because, dude, that quarterback usually is a pencil neck, little guy, right? Just brains and an arm. and these guys are protecting that guy from getting killed.
Yeah, I mean, not every quarterback out there is big, right? It's not like a Josh Allen back there or Ben Roethlisberger. Think about like a Kyler Murray who's back there, right? Like it is. It's just this little guy that's just. I mean, you see him talking up to all the offensive linemen all the time. It makes me
Yeah,
laugh.
yeah, and it's not just that they're small. Yeah, they have speed, but everybody's fast on the football field now. Every defender is
Mm.
fast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
When you see like
but
somebody like a Micah Parsons chase a
yeah,
quarterback down, it's crazy.
yeah. But anyway, so by far the best number 73. Who else is on that list? Anybody else great in
All right, so we
football?
got one of the guy in the NFL that stood out to me. He had 10 straight All-Pro seasons with the Patriots, and that's John Hanna, another offensive lineman. I don't think he's a household name, but as I was going through, he's a Hall of Famer. So he made the list. I threw a hockey one in here for you, specifically for
Yep.
you. His name's Michael Ryder with a Y, and he's got 431 career points with the number 73. Only 2,426 behind Gretzky. So didn't quite get there, but according to the NHL, this was the greatest number 73 of all time.
Oh, yeah. I think I probably could have put some skates on and got 400 points if I played long enough.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
The
I don't-
MLB, there's been a few. What?
You never seen me on ice skates before, buddy.
That's true, and I don't want to. That means we're
No,
in a
it's like-
place that's very cold, and I don't want to see that.
It's like a giraffe on ice. Just like
It's great. It's awesome. Major League Baseball had a few players wear 73. Only one wore it for an extended period of time. 11 seasons. Pitcher Ricardo Rincon. Don't know if you remember him. He was there kind of
No.
90s, 2000s. 565 career games, 3.59 ERA. Nothing to write home about. But long career, 11 seasons. Hey, that's pretty good. And one guy wore the number 73 in the NBA. And that one guy would be Dennis Rodman. He wore it in 99 with the Lakers. One season,
yeah,
number 73.
good old D-Rod.
Yep.
Too bad his daughter plays for a bunch of woke morons on the U.S. women's national team. She's probably the best player on that freaking team, and they're out of the World
Yeah.
Cup now. You know what I mean? But we're not going down that road. I'm not in the mood.
No.
I'm really not in the mood for that. I'm in the mood for a happy show. So all those numbers
Yeah.
are good, man. Every one of them. You know, dude, I'll tell you. Go back to that John Hannon guy. 10 All-Pro seasons. Like that's not Pro Bowls. That's All-Pro. Like that's different than Pro Bowl. That's impressive. That's impressive. That means you are
in a row.
That means you're the best.
10 straight.
Yeah. That means you're the best of the best at your position for 10. Because listen, the Pro Bowl is big. You get a lot of guys and fill-ins and all that other stuff. Dude, 10 times All Pro is insane.
Yep. No
In a
doubt.
row, like you said, in a row, which is even better. So, but anyways,
Yep.
So moving on, Bible verse time. And Bible verse is coming from Romans. All right, it comes from Romans 13. I got the Bible with me because I didn't type it out in the notes, but it comes from Romans 13:8. And this one's for you, Dave, because you got some news you want to talk about right afterwards. And the part of this chapter 13 is love fulfills the law. So Romans 13:8. Let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another. For whoever loves others has fulfilled the law. Dave, why did I pick that one? What's going on in your world?
I think you picked that one for me. Today is Casey and my 14-year anniversary.
Wow.
14. Yeah, wow is right. My Lord, time flies by.
Yeah.
It seems like just yesterday we were, dating, getting engaged, getting married, and now it's been 14 years, 3 states, 2 kids later. It's been a wild ride to this point. It's amazing.
Well, congratulations too. That's a big number. So you guys, it's been 14 years married.
14 years married.
So you got married. That would be what, 2009?
Yes, sir.
August 8th of 2009.
Yep.
That's pretty good. We got married.
Yep.
When did Andy and I get married? You've been married longer than us. We got together. We started dating in 2008. I I think 2008 we started dating. 2010 we get married. 2011, something like that. But anyways, yeah. So 14
Mm-hmm.
years married. How long did you guys date before you got married?
A couple of years.
A couple
We were
years.
kind of on and off again for a while, from high
Mm-hmm.
school on, and then it
Mm-hmm.
was really pretty much a year. Yeah, almost 2 years probably before we got married.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Words of wisdom for all those newlyweds out there, or dads thinking about getting married, or guys about to get married?
Um, Keep at it and stay committed. There's good days, there's bad days, but in the end, if you truly love each other, you've got each other to support each other. Um, and I never probably would have imagined where our lives would have turned out at this point. It's a roller
Mm-hmm.
coaster. You never know what's going to happen, but you just got to be side by side with that person that you choose to spend your life with, and be there to support them through the good times and the bad times, and it'll all work itself out.
That's good. Yeah, and we hate debt on this show, but the continuing debt of loving one another is the only time we will ever approve of debt.
That's right. That's a debt I can get behind.
That's why I got that. I pulled that one out today because I'm like,
I
it's
like it.
Dave and Casey's anniversary. He hates debt, but I'm going to put debt and make the word good. And somehow I turned debt into a good
Yeah,
thing for you.
I do. Yeah,
See,
that's
there
good.
is good. There is
But
good debt. You're indebted to each other.
that's right. But I'm not the only one with some big news. You got some big news too, please.
Well, you've been married for 14 years, and tomorrow my firstborn will be 13. So I've been a dad for 13 years. Tomorrow morning at 7 or at 5:25 Connecticut time,
Wow.
so 2:25 a.m. Arizona time, I will become a father of a 13-year-old, which is
Wow.
absurd to think about. If you want to feel old, just remember when you have kids how fast they grow. It is just, dude, I don't even have words that can describe the fact that I have a teenager. Like 13 doesn't sound so bad because she's like still a little kid to me, dude. If you knew
Yeah.
what I was doing at 13, dude, she's a teenager, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild to think that Madison is 13. I can't believe that. And yeah, you think back to like when you were becoming a teenager, right? And the stuff that you were doing, and now you got to think that's what your daughter is going to be up to.
No, not allowed.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Not
Okay.
not allowed.
Keep telling yourself
Listen, I
that.
tell you, Andy and I have I think we've done a good to great job with all of our children. Her being the firstborn, it's a little different, right? Because that's what she's made us a parent, right? She made Andy a mom and made me a dad, and we were young, man. I was 24, and Andine was 22 when we had a baby. And Madison was the light of our life. She's lived in 3 different states and 5 different houses, or let's see, 2 houses here, 1 there, 2 there. Yeah, 5 different houses. She's gone to a multitude of schools. That kid is just our firstborn. She's, I very rarely have to raise my voice. She's, does her own thing. She's very quiet. She's very polite. She doesn't get in trouble. She's a straight A student. I mean, I can list all the accolades. She's my worrywart. She gets upset over little things. Like just for instance, this morning when I dropped her off at school, she had cross country practice this afternoon. And she was worried about the list not being posted what the thing about Madison is if you tell her something, like you better follow through. Like if you say, hey, I'm going to pick you up at 8, you better be there at 8. Or this is going to be there. It better be there because she is my worrywart, and she doesn't like mass confusion. She doesn't like things that are out of order. She doesn't like things that are planned and they don't happen. And so today I dropped her off at school. And she's like, Dad, can we go like 15 minutes early because I need to check the cross country list to make sure everything's good. That she dropped off her athletic form, her physical, her money, and all that stuff, which she did do on time. And so I got to school about 15 minutes early this morning, dropped her off, and I waited at the gate, and I was bullshitting with the principal at school for a few minutes. And she comes back from the gym, and she goes, Dad, it's not posted. And so the principal goes, what's not posted? And she goes, the cross-country list. We were told on Friday that at 7:45, the cross-country list was going to be posted on the gym door. It's not there. And the principal was like, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. You want to check with the office to make sure. And I'm like, dude, you don't understand. That's not how this kid works. Like, if you say you're going to do something, you have to
Gotta
do
be
it.
there.
It has to be there
Yeah.
because Madison, she gets emotional. She's a worrywart. And so I said, baby, just go to school. I'll go handle it in the office. And she went on her day and went to school, and I went in there and made sure everything was good. And I said, I'll see you after cross country practice. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man, 13, and she's so smart. And so, she's a great kid. She's going to be great. She'll do whatever she wants to do one day. She loves animals, loves to bake. She baked her own birthday cake. So there's that. From and she
What?
baked she baked her own birthday cake from scratch. She didn't want a
Good
box
for
cake.
her.
She didn't want Andy to buy a cake or make a cake. She wanted to do it. And we did her birthday kind of over the weekend because of sports and meet the teacher night and all that other stuff. So she made her own birthday cake from scratch yesterday. And it turned
Good
out
job, Madison.
amazing. So happy birthday to my firstborn, who is now 13 tomorrow. So happy anniversary to you and Case. Happy birthday
And happy
to
anniversary.
Madison.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's absolutely
Yep.
amazing. So let's jump into what we were speaking about beforehand. We talking about kids being back in school. Now, for me in particular, it's weird. My kids have been homeschooled for 2 years. Really, it feels like they've been homeschooled for 3 years because of COVID, and they did all the homeschool shit anyways. And then we moved, and they were homeschooled, and then they were homeschooled all of last year as well, up until now. So for me, you ask, how weird is it? It is awful. I hate it. I'm not gonna lie. It's terrible. I am. My brain never shuts off, that, and I'm constantly worried. But to drop them off and have to say bye to them and then be home is just the most awkward, weird feeling I've ever felt in my life. It is just crazy because Madison's in 8th grade. This is it. Then it's high school. Caroline's in 4th grade, a big step year for her, you know what I mean, in terms of testing and all that other stuff. And we already know where she is, with her needs. And then Finley, the little heartbreaker, the one that just it's like me sticking my hand through the screen, Dave, and ripping your heart out and then handing it to you. Like, it is just brutal. And she's so old and she's so big and she doesn't care. Like, she went to school last week, Thursday, Friday. And then, and then yesterday was Monday. Today's Tuesday. And it was heartbreaking. And she's like, on Sunday night, she was taking her shower, and I was just talking to her, and she's like, Dad, I know where my classroom is. You don't have to walk me to class anymore. And I said, I'm glad you know where it is and you don't want me to, but you don't get a choice, kid. I will be walking you to class, whether you want me to stand behind you, hold your hand, hold you. I don't care. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm at, dude, because it is just, for the first time in my life as a parent, nobody's home during the day. And for me, who's been working remote for as long as I have, it's just really, really strange. There's the house is too quiet. Andean works from her office. I work from my office. And it's just so deadpan quiet that it's like, how many times can I put the dog out? How many push-ups can I do? You know what I mean? It's like, how many phone calls can I make?
Yeah. And I always say, even like when Casey and the kids are out, it's like, when you get so used to the chaos of your normal life, when you don't have it, it's really strange. Yeah. So for you, like you said, you've been working from home. You've been making lunches for the kid. You've been doing school for the kids. You've been running them, around on errands, taking them to work, taking them to the store with you, like whatever it may be. And now it's just completely different. And it's going to be a hard adjustment. I mean, it seems like I just moved out to Arizona and watched Finley take her first steps. Yeah. Now she's in kindergarten. And when you ever called the other day and you're like, yeah, Finley went to school, she's like, bye, Dad. I was like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, there dude. It goes. She did it again this morning. She didn't even kiss me. She's like hangs her backpack up and takes her lunchbox out and just walks into her class. I'm like, hello. Just walk away from me and not say bye. I love you. You know what I mean? It's like, but she's so independent, and that kid she's the perfect blend of Madison and Caroline, right? Where she's vicious and she'll take your head off, but she's sensitive. And but I will say this, as a parent, two things about kids being at school. Number one, last Friday, she was a mess when she got home from school because it was 2 days of something that she had never done before, so much stimulation and all these things that she's not used to doing. Even though they're active kids, my kids are always outside running, swimming, biking, playing with the dog. We're always on the go. We never, sit still. She was so exhausted on Friday when she got home from just the 2 days, dude. The wheels by 5 o'clock, dude, the wheels were coming off the bus. And I mean, it was it was like, not funny, but sad at the same time because You could
Yeah.
just tell her brain had never had that much. And then the second thing was I have ADHD, as everybody knows that follows the show, and my brain never shuts off. And I work well under chaos. I need noise. I need things going on. I don't like deadpan quiet. I can't do that. And the amount of parents that it's not every parent. We all love our kids, but parents that are like, man, kids are in school again, like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm different. Maybe I'm not the majority, but I am like, no, this is terrible. Like I want them home with me all the time, and I get it. Like I put a poll out on my Instagram story the other day that said, you know, please, kids are back in school. What's your initial reaction? And it was like, no, never leave, stay home forever, good riddance, or a little bit of both. And I was happy to see that the majority said, um, half and half, like they get a little bit of alone time
Yeah.
themselves, and 40% said no, never leave me. And then the good thing is nobody clicked the good riddance button, because then I was like, dude, that's grounds for
Well,
instant
that's good.
dismissal if that's what your attitude was on your kids being back in school. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's nice to see. And it's funny how much like just a change of scenery will take out of them.
mhm.
Casey put the kids in the car after school, and they just had a half day on Friday to get back into it. She put them in the car to go off to go see a little motocross race, and they both fell asleep on the way there. They never sleep in the car. My kids never ever
Yeah,
sleep. They were both out within 20 minutes in the
yeah,
car because it's just different. And I think the stress of leading up to it too, like Finley was probably thinking about like school for a while. She was starting to think, oh, I'm gonna have to go do this. What's it gonna be like? So all that mental thought
yeah.
process that went into it, just mental exhaustion set in. So yeah, I totally see how that happens. But yeah, Kendall and Bryce are in their first full week. They only had a half day on Friday. They're full on school mode now. They were, this weekend they were nervous again to go back. They're like, oh, well, the first day is just fun and exciting. I'm like, but you were nervous about that, and it went great. So you're still nervous again. But it's interesting. I didn't even realize this until the day before school started on Friday. So Thursday night, I was talking to Kendall. She was nervous. She's our worrier. As you know. And she's been to 3 different elementary schools in 3 different states. I
Mhm.
was like, you know what, for a kid, that's a lot. That's a lot of change for a kid, especially coming from somebody who never changed schools when I was a kid. And in between all that was all the COVID nonsense.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I pieced together this weekend is Kendall has never had a normal year of school yet. Kindergarten, we moved. First grade, the end, she got pulled for COVID. Second grade was COVID. Third grade, they didn't go back right away. And then last year, fourth grade, we
You moved.
pulled her mid-year. So that poor kid has not had one normal year of school since she started, and she's in 5th grade. So this is going to be the year. I'm committed to this is going to be the year Kendall has a normal school year. So,
Yeah, and it's funny. Kendall's your warrior for sure, and Bryce could care less. He's like tank tops and cowboy boots. I'm good to go for the day, man.
yep.
It's
Yep, that's for sure.
there's something to be said though. Like their brains don't turn off, right? Because like their brains in summer mode are like just in chill mode, right? They're just going through the flow, whatever you're doing. If it's vacations or just hanging out at home or
Yeah.
doing camps, but then all of a sudden they go to school and they go from 0 to 1. Their brain, maybe their physical body doesn't go, but their brain goes from 0 to 100. And
Mm-hmm.
especially that first day of school, it goes like this. It goes, wah, and it redlines the entire
Yep.
time because their brain doesn't shut off. And that
Mm-hmm.
just it takes so much physical exhaustion, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Exertion to keep your brain at that level the entire time, because especially a younger kid, like a kinder, all right, where am I going? Who's this? I don't know you. What are you doing? Who's talking to me? Am I supposed to listen to this person? You know what I mean? It's so much for their little brains
Yeah,
to rattle off in
for
a
sure.
short time of 6 or 7 hours, counting recesses and lunches and whatever else that they do. So yeah, no, but it's
For sure.
overall back to school is bittersweet. It's sad. I love my kids being home with me all the time. I mean, shit, we lived in a camper, dude. Like it's hard for me. It really is. It really is hard for me.
Yeah.
But
I'm curious now. So I put one question in here.
mhm.
So as full force fathers, we're involved in our kids' lives. big part of their lives, making sure that, raising them the right way and that they're learning the right things. With all this stuff that's going on in schools now that you hear about, some of the indoctrination, the things kids are reading and the stuff that they're talking about, how much are you starting this year? Because you've homeschooled them the last couple of years. Like, has your mindset changed? As I need to be involved in what they're doing. I need to see what they're reading. I need to check their homework. I need to have conversations about, hey, what did you talk about today? Is that a big thing for you? Because it is for me.
Oh yeah.
Now that we've moved, I want to make sure that we're locked into what is happening. Because you hear a lot of the stories on the news, but you never know what you can believe now. So just throwing that out there to you.
Yeah, no, I'm very involved. I am very much the backpack raider when they get home. Backpack on the table. I go through their whole backpack, make sure they didn't miss anything, forget anything. I read every word of every email that a teacher sends. I read every word of every paper a teacher sends home. I'm super in depth with what they're learning and what they're doing. Like I said, especially with the younger two, it's easier because Madison's got so many classes and all that other crap. Thank God she's got a good head on her shoulders, and she has no cell phone, which is good. So I don't fear that type of stuff. But for Caroline and Finley, where they're younger, it's easier to indoctrinate them with nonsense. I do pay attention to every single thing. Like I said, their backpack comes home, I open it. Now, Finley a little different because they're in kindergarten, so they're already excited to open up their backpack and show you everything that they did. You know what I mean? But I'm very much on top of it and what books they're reading and what they're studying. This week will be the first real week where I'll get to really see what Madison's studying. I know what she has for classes, U.S. history, chemistry, algebra, that type of stuff. But at least I'll be able to actually see what is coming across the wire. And like I said, all of my kids have a very conservative baseline as it is. So if something is off or they notice something, they will absolutely tell me. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
which is good.
That's good. Awesome. Yeah, the same here. I think the biggest thing is the kids start getting older, right? It's the books that they're reading.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the big one for me. It's not maybe so much the conversations that are happening at that age, but it's more like the stuff that they're just having them read, watch, things like that. So that's what my laser focused on.
Yeah, for sure.
And I heard some ridiculous talk about how U.S. history classes are now becoming modern U.S. history classes.
Contemporary. That's
Oh, contemporary modern history classes. So that'd be interesting to see what that sort of syllabus is.
I can't wait to see that book. Madison's going to be writing some very conservative, valued papers when she has to. I can tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, school's back. Kids are back in session. Brett's sad about it. And there is one silver lining to the time of year. We are approximately a month away from football starting, which is awesome news. I don't know if you're as excited as I am, but I'm super pumped. College football's back. I'm so much more into college football now than I was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
The NFL's back. We had the Hall of Fame game the other day. Preseason starting to heat up. I just love the fact that it's close.
Yeah, well, two things. Yes, football's great. Number one, it means a changing of the weather. Usually the weather starts to change a little bit, which out here we've had such an awful monsoon season and such a brutal hot summer. Having the change in weather will be nice. And number two, not only does American football start, because I don't love college football like you do. You know that. I pay attention to college football, but I don't love it. I love the NFL and everything about it. But European football has begun this coming weekend. So it is Tuesday. This Saturday and Sunday is the opening of the Premier League weekend. So you know me, I'll be super pumped to be, watching my Spurs matches again and all that good stuff that goes along with it. So yeah, so it is phenomenal. It is now. I don't give a shit about pumpkin lattes and all that other crap that comes with the changing of the seasons and the football season. But the fact of the matter is, yes, football is the kickstart to fall. And by the way, nothing better, and I know you hate this when I say it, 10 a.m. football, there is nothing better than 10 a.m. football.
It's pretty great. I'm going to miss the 10 a.m. kicks. Not going to lie.
Yeah, well, I have a question.
But you know what's even better than
What's
10 a.m. football? Sunday night football being over by like 9 o'clock.
Oh, dude,
At
the best.
latest. 8
the
o'clock,
best,
9 o'clock at the latest.
the best. But anyway, speaking of football, I want to pick your brain on
Yeah.
college football for a second because you are big into the college. I could care
Mhm.
less. I enjoy it. What is the deal, man? Like just over the weekend, we saw all that news. Now, like the Pac-12 is gone. Like
Dude.
what the fuck? Like it's
Yeah,
people are
Pac-12 is
so
basically
people are
dead.
people are so dumb because it's all about football. But like you ruin so many other things when you just make it all about football.
Yeah, you wreck all the other sports. All the other sports are just collateral damage to the football money. That's all it is. I mean, they said essentially you've got, what have you got? 3 super conferences
Yeah.
and 2 mediocre conferences. I mean, the SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Big 12's loaded now. They've reloaded with all these other teams. Now, I wouldn't say all the teams are great, but they've got a massive conference. And then you've got the ACC,
Secondary.
and then you've got the American. The American. Those are 2 secondary conferences at this point on the football side. I mean, you got Clemson there and maybe Florida State, maybe Miami, but they're not going to compete with the likes of the teams in the other conferences. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I'll tell you, as much as I don't think they don't play any defense in the Pac-12 or the Big 12 for that matter. The fact that the Big 12 was able to rebound after losing Texas and Oklahoma. Now, granted, they didn't replace Texas and Oklahoma, but they still got some pretty great fan bases coming over to the Big 12.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't a match for match, apples to apples, but the fact that they didn't fold and they were able to figure it out. Now, did they both the Big 10 and the Big 12 poach the Pac-12? Sure as hell did. But that's what happens when you make it all about football.
And that's poor leadership in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Poor leadership in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
So, and now Big 12's got 16 teams in it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of teams. That's a lot of teams. But what I hate about it is you don't get to play everybody in your conference. And that's what I hate.
Yep.
You can't play everybody, so you really don't know who's the best team in the conference.
You know what I was thinking, and this is the Big 12. Speaking of the Big 10, right? Here's the Big 10 for me. How interesting is it going to be when Oregon, Ohio State, or Oregon, Michigan is now a regular game versus like a Rose Bowl game, right? And the fact that Oregon plays this, because listen, one thing the Big 12's always been known. Now, granted, over the years it's gotten more offense, right? Ohio State and these teams have been putting up points, but the Big 10 has always been known to be gritty, grimy, cold weather, upper Midwest, running game football. And now you're throwing some of these Pac-12 high-flying teams in there, and it's going to be a great dynamic to see what happens between the two. Yeah,
it is. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, those West Coast trips for some of those Midwest schools is going to be different. It's 2 totally different styles of football, like you just alluded to. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. UCLA, USC. It's going to be. I mean, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah,
it's all about the football money. I hate it. I actually hate it. I think I just think it's terrible for college sports. Sure, there's a lot of people that tell me I'm wrong. That's okay. But I think it's stupid, and I think it wrecks the rest of college athletics.
It does, and it's kind of like how good was Big East basketball in our heyday growing up, and it got ruined by football. Like nobody went to Big East schools to play football, and they ruined them.
Shitty football. Football. The ACC. It wasn't even a good football conference. Are you serious? Yeah. Terrible. I threw a lot of questions in here, just like I went through and I was like, all right, what are the major storylines for college football? You already hit me on the Pac-12 one because that was one.
Yeah.
You got the SEC, right? As always, Alabama going to be able to regain control of the SEC, or does Georgia three-peat, dude? Can you imagine a three-peat in college football right now?
Yeah,
with the talent that's there.
Last year was pathetic. They kept Alabama out, and they never should have, and it would at least made for a greater playoff because the fact that TCU beat Michigan and then literally, they never should have played the national championship game. They should have just gave the trophy to Georgia and let TCU go home with some pride. No, they didn't. They allowed the bloodbath to happen, and you know me. If there's anything that pisses me off more, it's these fuckers with the college game day, the college playoff, because they fucked them over. and TCU never belonged there. I don't care. They didn't belong in there. Alabama belonged in there because at least you would have had Alabama, Georgia, and it would have been an SEC slug fight. Even if that was the first game, you know what I'm saying? Instead of the second game,
Sure.
right? But you would have
I
had
mean,
the powerhouse SEC teams together because let's just be real. Alabama and Georgia are the best two teams again this year. They were last year. And both of Alabama's losses were terrible. I get it. I'm not arguing that. But the fact of the matter is you need to make for what should be the most interesting playoff instead of letting a product get out there. And that just proved to Michigan that Michigan sucked too because Michigan never should have lost to TCU. The fact that they lost to TCU proved that they didn't fucking belong there either. You know what I mean? It should have just been Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, and name another fucking team. You know what I mean? It makes me so mad. It makes me so mad.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's always interesting when you only have the 4 teams. I still think it should only be 4 teams. I think when they increase it, it's going to dilute the product.
Yep, for sure.
But again, it's all about the money, right? But I'd be interested to see, man, can Tennessee or LSU kind of get there? LSU beat Alabama last year. Tennessee beat Alabama last year. Can those 2 teams take a step forward? Maybe knock Georgia or Alabama out? It'd be interesting to see. I don't know. SEC is always an interesting one.
If anyone's going to do it, it's LSU, not Tennessee, in my opinion. Tennessee, I think.
I agree.
I think they hit that's about as high as they can go in the SEC, in my opinion. I don't think it should be that way, but I also think Florida's going to get better. You know what I mean? So for Tennessee to play as well as they did last year and come up with nothing, really, if I was a Tennessee fan, I would have probably been pretty deflated because Florida's going to be better. Georgia's there again. Alabama's not going anywhere. LSU, you know what I mean? So for me, Tennessee last year was like now or never for them, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah. How about this? A lot of storylines coming out of Austin. Is Texas actually back? Every year, everybody wants to say, "Oh, Texas is back. Texas is back." Are they actually back? I don't know.
No, they lose games they should never lose, and then they should have beat Alabama, but then they lose stupid football games. You know what I mean?
I know. They're a hard one. They're a hard one to tell. And until they actually hit the field, I don't say they're back. I don't think they're there. But we'll see. Maybe Quinn Ewers takes the steps they said he's taken. But who knows? Maybe Sterling Arch Manning comes in. Who the hell knows?
Well, I think if they start bad, then Manning's going to have to play because it's going to be, you know what I mean? They're not going to have a choice. But Ewers, from everything you say and what I hear, he's the real deal, man. And it's going to be, I think it's great if Manning sits behind him.
I do too. Then, all signs point to probably Quinn Ewers going, if he has a great year, going pro after this year. And then Arch Manning takes him into the SEC, which will be interesting.
Which is even crazier because Ole Miss was his uncle, Tennessee was his other uncle, and his dad played at Ole Miss too, right? He was both. I think he was Ole Miss.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is, and so we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it shakes out. But Texas goes to Alabama week 2 this year, so it'll be an interesting game in prime time, week 2 of the season. It'll be a good litmus test to see how the team's looking this year. So.
And that game you said is in Tuscaloosa?
This one, it's in Tuscaloosa this year.
Oh yeah, what does Alabama do at quarterback? What does Alabama do at quarterback? That's my question. You know what I mean? What do they do?
I don't think Saban said yet, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah. You know he's going to be great everywhere else on the ball, but quarterback is the question mark.
Yeah, he usually finds them though, so we'll see. Last year for Texas and Oklahoma in the Big 12, everybody's going to be giving them their best shot to beat them both on the way out. And another sad thing about this is you'll still have the Red River rivalry. I can never say it right. Yeah. But you're losing Bedlam. This is the last Bedlam. Oklahoma State. And I think that's a shame for college football.
Well, you're losing 2 of the greatest rivalries of all time. You're losing Bedlam and you're losing the Civil War up in Oregon. You're losing that one. You're losing Oregon State, which is amazing, whether it's in Eugene or Corvallis, right? Those are both 2 all-time rivalries that just the fact that they're going to be gone. Now, my question about the SEC is how does it stack up? Because with Texas and Oklahoma coming, I feel like they automatically have to be in the SEC West, right?
I don't know. I don't know if they must have said already, but I'm not sure. You would think so.
Because, but then they had to probably boot someone from the West to the East to try to make it even, right? Because they got to try to make it even.
Yeah, I don't know if they've actually said where they're going to
Yeah.
be. You would think it would have to even out.
Unless they're just going to make it a super
Um,
conference and then just let the top two teams play for the SEC
oh,
title game.
yeah. Oh, I'm just checking it now. 8 conference games, eliminating divisions.
So they're getting, so it is.
Interesting.
So it's one. So you're not going to play. So the problem is you're not going to.
You're not going to play every.
How are you not going to have Alabama LSU every year? That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Or you can't, and you can't get rid. You're not going to get rid of Alabama Auburn, the Iron Bowl. That's every year.
Right.
I mean,
just like Texas, Oklahoma, you can't get rid of that game.
Yeah, so you're going to have. So really, Alabama and Auburn only have 7 SEC.
So really,
games.
you're down to 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, that's
You're not getting rid of Florida, Georgia. That's always going to happen. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
yep,
it's gonna be next year's gonna be 2024 is gonna be an interesting year. You know what I mean?
Yep. And one interesting rule change for this season: they're not stopping the clock after a first down.
Good.
Thankfully, I know it'll help speed up the games a little bit. I don't think it's going to make all that much of a difference, but it will speed up the games, which I think is needed.
Yeah, I always argue with some of the changes because this one is a long time coming. They should have never stopped it. But the thing I hate about college football is until you get under a certain time, even when you run out of bounds, the clock keeps running. I hate that, dude. You purposely want to get time and you can't because they just run the fucking clock.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
So that's college football. A lot of good storylines. NFL, right? Preseason is all upon us. I saw a story the other day. As a Cowboy fan, I'll bring this up. That McCarthy said he's leaning towards sitting Dak for the entire preseason.
Doesn't matter.
I don't get it.
Doesn't matter.
It does matter. No, it does matter. Because you're going to come in week 1. You're not going to be synced up. It's going to be a total disaster. Tom Brady didn't sit for the preseason. Greatest quarterback of all time.
Right.
Dak Prescott's nowhere near the greatest quarterback of all time. So to give him that kind of leeway to be like, yeah, you don't need to play in the preseason, I think that's ridiculous. Now, he does have injury history. So we don't want him to get hurt. I get that. But
I wouldn't
I don't know.
I wouldn't say sit him for the whole preseason. Yeah, don't sit him for the whole preseason. It's one less game now. I wouldn't sit him for the I'd at least let him get a few snaps out there, you know what I mean? Just, because
Yeah.
But like I said, if you're worried about injury or whatever, I get it, but I also realize, dude, you're signing up to play football. No one's making you play football. So I always think
right.
Trying to I never understood. Remember what the Colts used to do every year because they'd always win their division and have a bye. They would rest Peyton Manning for the last 2 games of the season every year, and it always bit him in the ass in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I just think
and
it's
become rusty.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
You get out of routine, right?
Yep.
And when you get out of routine, it gets all fucking wacky. So, I don't know. I think we'll do an NFL. I think we'll do an NFL episode here in a couple weeks just to kind of preview the NFL, because I do think my Niners are right there again. I don't know if they're. We'll see how Purdy healed up.
Who's starting at quarterback? Is Purdy starting?
It's got to be Purdy. It has to be Purdy. After what he did last year.
Man.
I still can't believe that. Listen, I'm one of the very few 49er fans at the time spoke out against the Trey Lance thing. I was one of the very few. Everyone's like, oh, he's the future. And then you realize, oh, wait, he's injury prone. He hasn't played college football in forever. He's the highest drafted quarterback with the least number of snaps ever because you're just looking at his physical attributes, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I never made sense for me. I was one of the very few 49er fans that spoke out against it. And now here you are. You've lost all those draft picks, and you got Purdy with the last pick of the fucking the draft. He takes you to the NFC Championship game, which I truly listen. You can never take it back, right? The Eagles beat our doors in. Purdy got hurt. Our backup was a guy that wasn't ready for the moment. Nothing against him. He got hurt. You're not going to win a football game that way.
Yep.
I'm not saying if Purdy played, we would have won because the Eagles had a good team last year too. But at least I think we would have had a game. You know what I mean? So, but it's Purdy's job to lose, and Lynch has pretty much said that all along. He's the leader in the clubhouse, so we'll see. But I think the good thing going for us is I think our division is fucking terrible. I think it's absolutely horrible. I think the Rams are a mess. they went all in 2 years ago to win the Super Bowl. They did, but they're a dumpster fire. I think the Seahawks
Yep.
are a mess, and I also think Arizona's a mess. You know what I mean? So that's the good thing. I don't think we
Yep.
have to win 14 games or 13 games like we did. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I don't want to win that
No.
many games, but I think our division's is pretty bad, and I think 10 wins probably wins the division.
Right.
11 guarantees the division. You know what I mean? And you're going to get a home game kind of thing.
Yep.
So, but
For sure.
and it's just a freak accident. Purdy's elbow, man. You get a hit to the helmet and the freaking in the elbow, and just gone.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot of our season hinges on McCaffrey. If McCaffrey's healthy, we already know what we got with Debo and Ayuk and Kittle, and we got a great offensive line. We got the best defensive line, probably the best defense in football. You know what I mean? So as long as those guys stay healthy, then they should compete for.
Yep.
You know, we've been to 3 NFC Championship games in 4 years. I think there's no reason why we're not, predicted or high up on the list to get there again.
Yep. Well, I think it's book review time.
Okay, book review.
What do you got for us?
I think, well, we've done so many episodes now, like I said, number 73 is pretty high, so I forgot about how many book reviews we've done. So I just said, Dave, I'm doing this book review. Like, I think I've already done it. I'm like, well, I don't really care. I'm reading it. So we're doing it. So it is Baby Steps Millionaires. I picked this up at the library. As you can tell, it's got the shiny cover on it. I picked it up at the library. I'm not finished with it. I'm in the middle of it. But I find myself reading like 40 pages at a time, so I'm sure it's going to be a quick one. It's a great book, man. You told me about it, and I want you to talk about it more than I'm going to talk about it, because we're not going to go into a 20-minute conversation on the Baby Step Millionaires. But the book, the thing for me, the one takeaway I get from this book, and then I want you to tell me if I'm right or wrong, and then I want you can riff on it for a second or two or a minute or whatever. The one thing when I think about it when I read this book is anybody can do it. That's the way that's kind of how that's the one three words. Anybody can do it, or 4 words.
4 words.
Yeah.
And it's 100% accurate. I think there's a big misconception that millionaires are the people you see on TV, the athletes, the actors, the actresses, the singers. While they are a part of it, they're not the true story. The majority of millionaires in this country are self-made. Mm-hmm. The percentage that have gotten there from an inheritance is very, very small. And the numbers show that people do it by saving consistently over time. You don't have to save a lot at every time, but you just have to save consistently over time. You've got to let compound interest do the work for you. And it just goes to show that if you don't have debt, if you're not living above your means, and you continually save, you'll be a millionaire at whatever profession it is you have. One of the top 3 professions for millionaires in this country is as an educator, a teacher. Mm-hmm. And I think when you think about the salaries that teachers get paid, I think that just goes to show you the truth behind the fact that if you do it consistently over time, regardless of the amount, you're going to save money. You're going to be able to retire a millionaire.
Yeah. And I think the one statistic that I saw from this book is we always talk about compound interest, right? Anybody can do it. You just got to sack up. You got to get the extra job. You got to sell the car. You got to not care what people think, and you just have to do it. But the one thing, like Dave said, like, I think that what resonates the most with me is, as Dave knows, in my situation where Andy and I got started later on retirement because of just dumb money decisions over the years, right? And moving and this and losing that job and going to, on page 23, so early in the book, it talks about a story of someone who waited till they were like 32 to get their shit together. 2.5 to 3 years to work steps 1 and 2 to get out of debt, and steps 1 through 3, and get yourself to having that fully funded 3 to 6 months. $800 a month. If you start at 35, $800 a month at 35, and you go till 65, it's still $1.8 million at an average of 10%. That's if you wait. So if you're listening and you think you're stuck and you think it's too late, it's not. If you get 11%, it's $2.2 million. If you get 12%, it's nearly $3 million. That's only $800 a month, and you never put any more in there than that.
Yeah, I think $800 a month. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but if you don't have debt, it's not a lot.
It's
And oh, by the
nothing.
way, do you know what the average monthly car payment is now?
It's got to be close to that number.
Yeah, it's over $700. It's about $725.
Yep.
So hope your car is worth it. It's taking away your chance to save and retire a millionaire and not have to work forever. What a great thing that would be. Be
Yeah.
able to put some money away and not have to work forever.
And I love how he says, and wait on social insecurity.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It ain't going to be there. It's not going to save you.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. But like I said, anybody can do it. Do the work. You know, I mean, you can go pick up a part-time job somewhere right now and make $1,500 a month. And if you're behind, use that $1,500 to get rid of the debt, or use that $1,500 to just save it. Imagine you went and worked a part-time job for 15 years and you put $1,500 a month away. Huh.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he'd be done.
Yeah. On a part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, not bad.
But anyway, so that's Baby Steps Millionaires. Go read it. That's the show today, episode 73. And we'll talk to you next week. Dave, take us home.
Yeah, everybody, get out there, continue to live the full force life. If your kids are back in school, check in, see what they're doing, see what they're working on. If you still got a little bit of time before your kids are back in school, enjoy that time because it's going by super fast. And football's a month away. We'll see you next week.